Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, professionals, business owners, and just people doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting with Eric Grafstrom, the founder of ExitGuide, an innovative M&A platform dedicated to empowering small business owners and transitioning trillions of dollars in value to the next generation. With a career spanning Silicon Valley, London, and startups worldwide, Eric brings incredible insights into business transitions, coaching, and entrepreneurship. How are you doing today, Eric?
So good to be here, Anthony. I look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I liked our conversation we had the other day, and I was super excited to have you on. I think a lot of people could definitely benefit from what you're talking about, and just I think more people need to hear you. So let's get into it. Where are you calling in from?
I am in Austin, Texas.
How's Texas today? I'm betting it's a little different than Iowa right now.
Well, maybe a little bit, but not as much. We are going to get up to 70 degrees today, but we've been bouncing between cold weather and warm weather, which is typical for Texas this time of year.
Okay, well we're under a winter storm advisory, and it's about 10 degrees right now. So
All right, well, we're not doing that.
yeah, so a little different, but awesome. Are you originally from Texas? Or are you newer to the area?
Nope, grew up in St. Louis, go Cards, go Blues, and moved around Dallas, London, Bay Area, have family in Florida, so been kind of all over the place.
Okay. Where is Austin fall? Is it one of your more favorite places, or where's been your favorite?
I would be a great billionaire even though I'm not one. I would like to have cool apartments or homes in pretty much all of those locations and go different time of the year. So Austin is fantastic with the exception of kind of that June through August timeframe, and probably would spend that maybe in Northern California or London. So hard to pin one down, but Austin's great. We've really enjoyed being here. It's a cool city.
Funny that you say that. I'd probably be a bad billionaire. I'd be wasted on me. I just want some rural spot with a nice piece of property. So
That works too. That works too. You probably would have fewer headaches of things to manage. I would have all those properties to manage, I guess.
I'd find other headaches. Don't worry about it. But so, what do you recommend people do in Austin if they're visiting?
If you're visiting Austin, the music scene here is fantastic. I don't do it as much at this stage in life, but we do get out on occasion. Yes, you can go downtown to places like Sixth Street and others, but the music scene is actually far and wide. There are like loads of places, even at off hours, to go see fantastic musicians. You can find stuff on a Sunday afternoon. You can find stuff on a random Tuesday night. Barbecue, of course, is great. I have two or three places as a food guy that I always recommend. One of the best taco places in that I've ever had is called Quantos Tacos. So I'm always happy to plug them. They're a small taco truck near, kind of the east side of downtown. So music, tacos, barbecue are all good things, and maybe get out to the hill country as well. So we're closer to the hill country, just a little bit outside of Austin.
Awesome. You had me at tacos, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It usually gets people's attention.
you won me over. So awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do? Why did you start Exit Guide?
It was kind of a culmination of a journey. So Exit Guide was started to really kind of help the small Main Street business owner. And that stemmed from, growing up in the technology space. I kind of went from a sales guy to a biz dev executive and then into operating roles. The last few years that I was working in Silicon Valley, spent about 17 or 18 years there. I was doing work on behalf of investors to come in oftentimes into distressed situations. Why did I get there? How did I get there? That's probably a longer story, but willing and able was at the top of the list of things that probably qualified me. And these were companies that had raised a bunch of venture capital and were in a position where they were about to run out of money or things weren't going well. And so I was somebody that investors would call to come in and assess the situation and try to straighten things out or find a way to kind of re-engineer or maybe even shut things down. And it's fine. I learned a lot and it was good. But one, it's a just at a personal level, it was a really stressful way to kind of operate day in and day out. And two, it wasn't lost on me that, I was in these unique situations that a venture capital firm might invest a little bit more money just to kind of get to some clear path forward, even if it was, shutting down the company and dissolving it. And I was really kind of contemplating, is this something I wanted to do longer term? I was driving down the road and heard a story on the radio about baby boomers who were retiring. They didn't really know what to do with their business. In a lot of cases, they didn't have family members that wanted to or were available to take over the business. And it was a struggle. And I just thought that was a weird thing. And so as I looked into it, I realized a lot of things. One was it's a big market. We could talk more about that in terms of the demographics. But, I was sitting inside these companies that sometimes had just wasted a bunch of money, but they kind of had the support and the resources to figure out what to do. But if you run a small small Main Street business in the US that, might generate a few 100,000 or maybe low single digit in the millions, and it's time for you to get out of your business, retirement, health, want to do something else, whatever it may be, your options are really, really limited. And it's not all around trying to find a buyer. It's kind of even how do I start this process? What do I do? And so it's a huge market. It made a ton of sense to attack, but it, more of a heart level. I felt like that, this backbone of our economy and all these people who have done great work and really making these businesses, stand up and get off the ground were just getting shortchanged. And so set out to fix that.
Okay. And like I said in the intro, you use words like owners transitioning trillions of dollars, and it sounds hyperbolic because we can't really fathom what a trillion is. It's
Yeah.
really hard to do, but it's not. It's absolutely accurate that over the next insert however many years, trillions of dollars is going to be transitioning from one generation to the next. What's it called? The giant transition or something along those
Yeah,
lines?
so there's names for it. One is the silver tsunami, but it's a huge transition. So yeah, let me put some numbers behind that. But it's somebody who kind of came up from a career standpoint in the hyperbolic world of venture-backed startups. You hear about these things, and it's a multi-billion-dollar market. And sometimes it's true, sometimes it's slightly embellished, other times it's dramatically embellished. But when you think about it, small business in the U.S., it's about 40% of our GDP, so gross domestic product. Okay, what does a small business mean? Well, the government says a small business is anything with fewer than 500 employees. Well, that's a really wide net when you look at small businesses in the US. So when I dug into it, somebody who's, you know, founder and CEO of a business that employs three or 400 employees is operating at an entirely different level than somebody who's either a sole proprietor or has maybe 2 to 10 employees. They look differently, they're structured differently. Obviously, the economics are different. And so when I dove into it, a couple of things that jumped out at me. One, 85% of small businesses in the US are owned by baby boomers and Gen X. So anybody over 50. Well, that's a huge portion of small businesses that are owned by people who, whether they like it or not, are going to have to exit their business or will exit their business in the next 10 to 15 years. Two is that about 90% of them are really small, meaning that their revenue is under $5 million a year and they have between 1 and 10 employees. So, as we kind of look at what's going to happen over the next 10 to 15 years, yes, all these businesses will need to transition. It's a huge portion of our economy. And the ones that are, reasonably big, let's just say they have 50 to 100 employees or more, they have revenues north of $10 million, they're going to gobble up all these resources. And the resources are business brokers, M&A advisors, attorneys, other people who, financial advisors who also do exit planning. And those folks are great. They make a living off of hourly fees or transaction fees. And so if you're, sitting there looking at the market, you say, okay, if you're a service provider in that marketplace, would you rather help somebody who owns a business that's, worth 10, 20, or $30 million? Or would you rather help a business that may be worth 500,000 to a million or $2 million? Well, the answer to the question is obvious. They would be helping the bigger businesses. But what's interesting is 90% of businesses are, really small. So when you look at that big number, there's 30 million small businesses in the US that make a big portion of our economy. Most are really, really small businesses. They're called micro businesses. And so the struggle is how do you help them with this big decision and this important transaction if you can't do it as a service provider? So we kind of took this and we said, okay, how can we, learn from, kind of people who've also, rolled out, solutions for this market, TurboTax, LegalZoom, others. How can we enable technology to bring these types of resources, the education, the guidance, and the expertise and the tools to someone who may be running a very small Main Street business? And it's just a big part of our economy, and these people have done a phenomenal job. But it's just a massive number. Some say 10 trillion, some say close to 5 trillion. I think anytime you sniff that $1 trillion or more, it's somewhat irrelevant. It's just so big, it's really hard to fathom. But these people really do need help in terms of figuring out what to do. And so there's different ways of exiting a business, and we, don't necessarily kind of dictate how you're going to exit. We want to help you regardless of what path you choose.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Trillion versus trillions, it's irrelevant. Yeah, you're talking
Yeah, yeah,
unfathomably large. Some infinities are bigger than
yeah,
others.
yeah.
It's all the same though. So awesome. Yeah, and what you're doing is definitely needed. And there's probably, a lot larger need for it than people even realize, because it is so big. It's hard to comprehend. But just on the personal level, what are you mostly loving about what you're doing? What's the big passion there?
Uh, it is. I think some people can go to work every day and feel like they're doing a job, and as long as their boss is happy and the company's doing well, they feel good about it. Uh, I think some people, myself included, and this is true of a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm better when I have a fight or a cause. And so at a macro level, like the thing that I like most is I feel like this is just it's an injustice, it's a disservice. We've got a lot of people who've put their heart and soul into businesses, and to tell them at the end that, well, the unit economics just aren't enough for me to be able to help you, it bothers me. I mean, it really does. And maybe some of that has been colored by being in, this weird echo chamber of Silicon Valley where, people can hype up a company and say it's worth, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to see it then come crashing back to the earth. And everybody kind of shrugs their shoulders and walks away. So what I love most is that what I tell people is when I talk to our customers, I'm talking to real people with real businesses that generate real revenue and are part of their community. And that's a very admirable thing to have accomplished, even if it's really, really small. And that gets me excited. I feel like I'm helping them, but I'm also, in some ways, today it's small, but I hope to have a huge impact on this market by helping a lot of people. And um, my cause is righting an injustice in how this market is treated from an M&A perspective.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like people that can help those that are being underrepresented. Hey, we only deal with groups that are this size.
Yeah.
Anything else, figure it out. Uh, but a little bit, a lot of times over, still a lot. So it's definitely something that needs to be more focused on. So you were talking about like the majority of businesses, out there that you're able to help. They're over 50, age 55. They'll be transitioning out. Is there a time when it's like too soon to be considering this kind of stuff, or at what point should people start looking at it?
I mean, look, the right answer is not long after you start the business. Now, let's be practical. People don't start a business in the first year, think about the exit. People in the venture capital, kind of industry do, which is I'm starting it. This will be worth billions of dollars. I've got investors. Everybody's kind of shooting for the moon. Uh, but what I usually would like to see is that at a minimum, somebody is thinking 2 to 3 years in advance. Um, that will give you time to really start documenting, making changes in the business if you want to improve your valuation. Again, that's not always the case. We oftentimes see people who come into our platform who are looking to exit as soon as the next 90 days or within the next 12 months. And that seems to be way more common, and it's understandable. So we try to meet them where they are. But ideally, you're thinking about this at least 6 to 12 months in advance. It'll give you time to kind of at least start to gather the information. If you have bookkeepers and other people, you got to wrangle all that information. You may need to get new and updated information, clean things up. So give yourself at least 6 months, in my humble opinion, just being super practical about it. Ideally, a year. And if you're somebody who's super organized and you're thinking about this 2 to 3 years ahead, kudos to you.
Okay. How about like your average client or your avatar, the folks that you're really able to go and help? What does that look like? And what are some of the through lines that all of them share?
Yeah, so what we started with initially was just kind of trying to learn what were the pain points. And when I tell people what I do, if I don't get a chance to explain it, people will say, "Oh, you see, you help them find a buyer." And it turns out we've had thousands of people on our platform. We bring them through a process where we learn about where they are and what their needs are and about their business. And I'll give you some data points that were actually super surprising to me. When you ask people what is their biggest concern with selling or exiting or transitioning out of their business, about 68% state it is something around where to start and what to do. 23% state it's finding a buyer. So what's interesting is the issue is less around finding that buyer. In fact, almost 50% of people who are using our platform already have a plan of to who they're going to sell the business to. family member, business partner, employee, someone in their community, sometimes family, not nearly as common as people think. So it's a lot of times it's just, meeting, owners where they are, which is, I just don't even know how to go about doing this. And unfortunately, that often leads to procrastination. And so, we're trying to educate owners around like, here's where you are, here's the things that you can practically do. So the way that we tackled this was we designed a very simple dashboard. And so again, we can't sit down and plan and do strategy sessions with every small business owner that's out there. That's what a, financial advisor, exit planner, or business broker might do. So what we've done is we've taken kind of that process and made it, more simplified. And you log in, and this is for people who pay for an account. You have access to a dashboard, and that dashboard is going to walk you through these kind of couple of steps. And you're just filling things out, you're uploading information, you're answering questions, and all of that is going to get pulled in, and it's going to get shared with your prospective buyer, or it's going to be packaged up and pushed into a page that you can use to market your business in your community. So the reality that we're trying to deal with here is 80% of people who try to do this on their own, they fail. And 50% of that is in due diligence. And so, these are oftentimes self-inflicted wounds. And so what we're trying to do is to say, hey, look, you think your business is great, but to describe that to someone else who thinks it's great and understands it and sees it as a business opportunity, that's an entirely different thing. And there's steps you can take to increase your odds of success. And if you have a really big business, you've got people, they'll sit down, they'll do this work on your behalf. They just need a little bit of your time. We're basically saying, look, you don't have to go figure this out on your own. You've got a basic online platform that will show you the things to do. So if you can use TurboTax, if you can use LegalZoom, if you can book a trip online, or maybe manage your investment portfolio online, you also can actually start to plan your exit and start to get your business package so you can actually take it to market.
Okay. So you just mentioned a lot of common mistakes that business owners make. If you could talk to all the business owners in the US that are dealing with this one pain point, what's the main pain point that most of them face when they are trying to exit their business?
It is where to start and what to do. People just kind of, they don't know what to do, so they react, or they kind of think, all right, well, I just need to go find a buyer and then I'll figure the rest out. Or I'm just going to go out and, kind of set a price, and it's kind of what I need for return. So, it really is this is a, slow down so you can go fast. So what I would tell people is, before you contact a buyer, before you start to take action of kind of like out there, look internally and start to ask yourself questions. The best analogy that I can draw for people that's easy to remember is, no one wakes up on a Saturday morning and says, let's go sell the house, and sticks a sign in their front yard. Like, maybe somebody has done that, but that's not a good idea, right? What people do is they say, okay, look, I think we want to sell our house. Springtime seems to be a good time to do that. What are houses sold for in our neighborhood? What are the repairs we need to make? Maybe we need to do a little bit of cleanup in the yard, things that make the business presentable in terms of, appealing to that buyer. So really, the most important thing you can do is to think and organize before you start to act.
Okay. And, just along those lines, you said 80% of people, fail at that. So,
Yeah.
that's being a huge pain point. What is the number one thing that businesses can do to increase their odds of selling their business?
Yeah, the things that people can do is getting organized and, understanding things. So there's, when I look at this, there's kind of like the mistakes you make. There's three mistakes I see people make. Mistake number one is they immediately contact a, buyer, or they start to talk to prospective buyers. Don't do that, because buyers ask questions. What do you want? When do you want to sell? Do you have this? Do you have that? And people say, oh, I can get all that. So, as far as mistakes go, mistake number one is contacting a buyer before you've done any preparation. Two is not getting a valuation that's objective. Nobody wants to buy a business based on what you think it's worth. They want to buy it based on what the numbers say it's worth. So mistake number two is, just guessing at the price. And then the third mistake is just kind of falls in the umbrella of not planning and organizing at all. So there are kind of on the other side, what are three things that you can do to actually get your business and improve your odds of success? One is you need a plan. I don't care if it's an elaborate plan. I don't care if it's a simple plan. You can go to exitguide.com. You can get a plan for $500. But really what you need is a plan for, what information do I need to present to a buyer to attract their interest? What is the information that I need to, have in due diligence, and how do I navigate this process? That is what a plan will prepare you for. It is, how do I take this to market? How do I navigate due diligence so I'm in line to form a transaction? Two is actually, getting information, the formation documents, financials, all this stuff that you're going to need to go gather. Time kills deals. So, you can go get this information. If you find out you can't put your hands on your business formations with your state secretary of state, then it might take you a couple of hours or, waiting on days for getting that back. You can do all this stuff in advance. So get organized. And then the third is just being patient. I know, a lot of owners come in and say, like, I need to sell this before the end of the year. I've got all these other reasons. Well, if you're putting a very, very tight time constraint on it, you may not get the best deal. So if you can learn where you can be patient and set a time frame where you're waiting for the right opportunity, then you're going to be in the best position.
Yeah, being able to do it on your own terms. That's
Absolutely.
important. So, is there anything that I missed that you wanted to add?
Well, what I would tell people though is, look, there's a lot of businesses that are going to come onto the market, and people are looking at your business oftentimes without the emotional attachment that you have. So people are buying a business, they're not necessarily buying the opportunity that you see in the business. And so you just need to kind of have as much as you possibly can an objective opinion and organize and present your business in a way that tells somebody the story of not just kind of what the opportunity is, but also, you've got your act together and this business actually is a sellable business that someone can come in and scale.
I gotcha. Yeah. So all throughout businesses, we're learning the same thing. Is I may be a really good plumber, but I don't know how to run a business. So you
Yep.
can either do it the hard way, or you can have somebody show you how to do it, learn from the mistakes they made, so you can avoid them. But that's the same thing on exiting. Hey, I got really good at being a plumber. I got really good at running the business. Now I need to transition out of it. It's just as important to have somebody come on, show them, what mistakes to avoid so that they can do it successfully, because you only really get one shot at that. So, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want your help?
So, you can do one of two things. You can just go to exitguide.com and you can go through. We have a sale readiness, score that we, give for free. And it's basically going to ask you a bunch of questions, much like if a business broker or an M&A advisor were to sit down. So we've simulated that. And then the other is you can also contact me by email, which is Eric with a C at exitguide.com. I love talking to small business owners. What I would tell you is don't wait, don't wait, don't wait, don't wait. The more that you can do to not just think about this, but actually take some steps, it will reduce some stress. It will increase the odds if you take action. But if you wait and move into reactive mode, it's going to be really, really hard on you to actually sell the business. So go to exitguide.com, email me, Eric at exitguide.com. I'd love to talk to you.
Perfect. And I would absolutely recommend everybody reach out to Eric. He's a wealth of knowledge, and you've spent your entire life building this business. You deserve better than an 80% chance of succeeding with exiting it. So absolutely take the cheat code, have the help, talk to Eric. You're going to be better off than not. So if you're a little bit more shy and you don't want to reach out to him directly, feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to make those introductions as well. If anybody else out there would like to be interviewed, you could also reach me. I'll have all of Eric's links in the description. Mine will be below it with my link tree. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to have a conversation with anybody as well. But Eric, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time, pouring into us, talking about something that we like I said, unfathomably large is coming down the pipe right now. So trying to get ahead of it as best we can. So really appreciate you taking time today and doing that. But let's all get out there and meet some more people. All right.
Absolutely. Anthony, thank you so much for the time. Again, Eric at exitguide.com. Really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you.
My pleasure.